But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. This is Honey Badger debate number 7, or no, I'm sorry, number 8. Debate number 8. Tucker on single motherhood with his special guest, Dr. Warren Farrell. I am Brian Martinez. I'm joined by Alison Tiemann, the Boss Badger. And we're going to be looking at Tucker's video. So I guess, is there anything else that I should be announcing, or are we just going to just dip our ankles in it?
It's great to see that he's having Warren Farrell on.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
That's definitely the I don't mean this in a bad way, but Warren Farrell's sort of like the Mr. Rogers of the men's rights movement, so he's the non-controversial end, perhaps. Yes,
likely the most moderate and digestible MRA out there.
He apparently, well, on his show he told us that he voted for Hillary Clinton. So make that of what you will. And I'm not going to judge.
No.
I mean, he did it for his own reasons, and there you go. But he's very moderate. He was a former head or president or something of the national.
Yeah, he was. At least he was on the chair, I believe.
He was a chair,
at the National Organization for Women. Yeah,
National Organization for Women. So he's definitely, of all the moderates, he is most moderate, and that's not a bad thing. He brings sort of a balance to the discourse, and we appreciate him coming on our show and being part of the conversation here on Honey Badger Radio. So yeah, let's just start.
All right, we're gonna just jump right into it. Yep. First, I'm gonna give you guys a clip for context so you know what we're talking about this week.
Well, there are a lot of reasons that men are falling behind in this country, but a look at the numbers reveals one statistic that tracks the decline of American men almost precisely over time: the disappearance of fathers from the home.
So this is about fatherlessness, which I think is probably one of the most crucial issues facing not only men and boys today, but our society as a whole. Just it affects everybody on every level, and I'm so glad that this is coming up. Although many people have tried to bring up this topic in the past on mainstream media, it is often, deflected, criticized. We'll get into that, and you'll see. So,
yeah.
All right. So
fatherhood is absolutely critical. It's not just critical to our society. It's a part of what made us human. Mm-hmm. The extension of childhood via the adoption of fatherhood behaviors, it's a big part of what underpins a lot of our humanity and our ability to think in the ways that we do and relate and cooperate in the ways that we do. I just wanted to put that there.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm jumping ahead to the effects of fatherlessness here.
2014 study by researchers at Johns Hopkins University. Among younger parents without college degrees, 74% of mothers had at least one child outside of marriage. Out-of-wedlock births are now the rule across the country, not the exception.
All right, I'm butting in here. This isn't the whole clip, but I'm butting in here because I showed this clip to our patrons in the after show, and it sounded really off because this 74% number sounds really high because recently, I believe Dr. Jesse Lee Peterson, Reverend, maybe it's Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. I'm sorry, I may have that wrong. He was talking about a statistic that in the United States, in the black community, 77% of children are born to single mothers. And when I heard that number, that sounded about right, just based on, from my anecdotal experience living where I live, which is primarily Black and Latino neighborhood. But this 74% number that's being thrown out there isn't targeting a specific community, but it's across the country altogether. But the important distinction here for those of you who might be looking at it is that he's saying at least one person in the home is born out of wedlock. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the father is not present, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't a father present. Whereas in Jesse Lee Peterson's example, there are no fathers. It's a single mother home. So there's like no one around. So this is like how much more it's affecting Black families.
It's also, I think, when he talks about out of wedlock, when you talk about single motherhood, you're also talking about not having a partner who's cohabiting with you.
Right.
So it's just the mother. There's no baby daddy in the picture. Mm-hmm. So I think he's talking about people who aren't married, so they haven't gone through the process of having a ceremony,
right,
to indicate that they are married or signing a contract, which is different than just how many children don't have a father in the home.
Exactly.
It'd be a higher number.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to get across. Is it's a little bit different. Tucker's looking at a group of people than what Jesse Lee Peterson, or even when I talk about single motherhood, I'm talking about no daddy at all, or maybe even not, in many cases, no male figures at all, just single mothers, period. All right, so moving on to the rest of the clip.
Increasingly, having a father at home is a sign of affluence, but it is also a cause of affluence, especially for boys. Boys who grow up with a father at home earn much more as adults. Boys who grow up alone with their mothers tend to earn less. They also have more disciplinary problems in school. They read less and less well. They're less likely to graduate from high school or go to college. They are more likely to be unemployed and to live in poverty. They get married less often, and when they do, they divorce more. They're more likely to be obese and to have asthma. They are far more likely to abuse alcohol and drugs, exhibit antisocial behavior, and commit acts of violence. As adults, they're twice as likely to go to prison.
I thought that was really interesting, especially the obesity and asthma thing. That kind of surprised me because, and I'm trying to think where that. I was just talking about this with Stapler this morning. About why would asthma be a thing that would be more common in homes where there's no father in the house? And she thought maybe it was because the mothers are more likely to try to essentially create a bubble of protection, like for their kids, like by over cleaning and not exposing them to dirt or whatever, maybe. And I was thinking that maybe it has to do with birth control, because there's that could be another thing altogether, but. Did you? I'm sorry.
It's interesting. This is the first time I'd heard these kind of physical symptoms of fatherlessness. About 5 years ago, I got into an internet slap fight with Justicar, actually, over one of the physical symptoms of fatherlessness in girls, which is that girls without their fathers go through puberty quicker. They end up in puberty, I think, a year or 2 years earlier than girls with their fathers. And it's even visible in their faces. There was a study that I saw from a documentary on the effects of fatherlessness, where they showed faces of girls who had been raised with their fathers and girls who had been raised without their fathers. And invariably, the girls raised without their fathers looked significantly older in the pictures than the girls who had been raised with their fathers. So it's this, when girls don't have a father in their home, physically, they go through puberty. They become sexually mature faster, and they also age faster than if they have their father in their home.
Yeah.
When they're children. So I didn't realize that it had this kind of a physical effect on boys. It may also have an effect to increase or decrease the rate going through puberty for boys as well, but I don't know for sure on that one. But it was essentially the fight itself, the little bit of drama was just that I had asserted that girls are more likely to go through puberty faster without a father in the home, and he challenged me on that assertion, and then I showed him the sources. And so it was perhaps drama or slap fight wasn't quite the right way to put it. It was just
a disagreement,
a brief disagreement in the history of the interwebs.
Yeah.
But so that was one physical effect that I knew of, but I did not know about the asthma and the obesity. I wouldn't be surprised if it's also the case that girls who are raised without fathers become obese and have problems with asthma as well. But yeah, this seems to be very, again, the physical findings were unique for me. I hadn't heard of that before. I've heard of all of the social and mental development findings when it comes to being father deprived or father deficient, but I hadn't heard of the physical findings, which are pretty difficult to argue with, if that's the case.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can argue some of the developmental findings or some of the emotional findings or some of the intellectual findings. It's really difficult to argue the fact that girls without their fathers go through puberty earlier and boys are more obese. And this is a direct effect of being father deficient, of choosing to raise children, women choosing to raise children who are father deficient. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Like I said, it's something that I hadn't known until Tucker brought it up. Good on him. He's finding things that I didn't even know about. That's impressive.
Yeah, so for causes, I the reason why I brought up, this is for people who may not know from watching that are watching this. The reason why I brought up birth control is because, from what I understand, birth control, when women take birth control pills, it alters their what they're attracted to, right? It messes with your hormones, and basically what it ends up doing is that while women are on birth control, they become attracted to men that they otherwise would not be attracted to. They tend to be attracted to men who are more familial, as opposed to, like the men that may be a better biological match. So you end up, when a woman is on birth control, if she meets a man and becomes attracted to him, and then decides to stop taking birth control long enough to be pregnant, she may actually discover, if they stop taking birth control, that they no longer are attracted to that man because their hormones become more like what they're supposed to be. And that often results in kids that are born with some health issues, maybe because they are actually too closely related by blood in some distant way that they are not aware of. The other thing that I was bringing up is that somebody brought up in the comment section that we also talked about was single mothers don't usually breastfeed their kids for as long, so their kids don't get they don't get as much of the sort of like the nutrients and the stuff that they need from their mom to improve their immune system. So they may be more susceptible as a result of that as well. So those things are possible.
Yeah, to expound upon the birth control thing, the similarity is similarity in immune system. So it very well may be that issues of, I'm not sure if asthma is an immune-based disorder. I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. But it may be. There may be some components to it.
Yeah, I don't know what asthma is, but I think it's also because from what I understood about the birth control thing, the boys and girls, they tend to be more likely to have not only health problems but allergies and maybe some chronic issues and also psychological stuff like autism and whatnot. So that appears to be a sort of like one of those unforeseen side effects of birth control for kids. So
yeah, let's do the next hot take.
All right, let's do the next hot take. So I just did effects of fatherlessness. We're going to go into the next bit.
Now, these numbers aren't the result of one study, but of numerous large studies done over generations. The results hold true across geography and ethnic groups, white and black, urban and rural. They're always true. Boys raised without their fathers are at terrible risk. There is not much serious academic debate about that, if any. The nationwide breakup of families is a disaster, and not just a moral disaster, but a practical one. It may be the largest public health crisis that we face.
Wow, it's actually interesting that Tucker may be the only person pointing this out.
Oh, it's totally, like, I didn't think that this would become a conversation that anyone in the mainstream media was going to even approach in my lifetime, to be honest. And I know that sounds super black-pilled, but, like, I didn't think that would... I figured even somebody like Tucker would, more so bang on the man up men, we know things are hard, but you need to, like, get over it, pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of attitude. But, he is taking an interest in this, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah,
he's definitely bringing up stuff that even I didn't know about. Mm-hmm. And it's good to see that he's not sugarcoating it either. And again, like you said, not beating the man up drum. He's actually talking about how these things are preventing boys from becoming the men that our society wants them to become and needs them to become to maintain the system that it's created. Mm-hmm. And refuses to give them. It's so amazing to me. All of this discussion is taking place in the backdrop that we need the excess productivity of men. As this society is based on it. The government doesn't work without it. It doesn't work without men capable of bearing that burden. And yet, what does the government do? It just puts more weight on and gives men and boys no resources to maintain the burden that they're expected to bear, at the same time as it critically relies on it. And Tucker seems to be the only one in the mainstream media who's looking at this situation and saying, hey, something's going to give here, and something's going to give here soon, because you can't keep doing this. You can't innately rely. And this was done, okay, there was studies done in New Zealand that showed that women never pay more into the government than they take out. Throughout their entire lifetime, they are a net drain on government resources. So the only reason why these government resources exist is because of the excess productivity of men. That's it. It's the only reason why the government exists. Mm-hmm. And this government turns around and to the people that it relies on, to the men that it relies on for its very existence and for the maintenance of women, pisses all over them and ignores their problems and compounds their problems and blames them for societal failure, as if they're the ones causing the problems, as if they're the ones with the needs that are too great. They are the ones who are literally lifting the government and women on their shoulders and carrying them, as women and the government beat them with a fucking riding crop. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. I know we're not supposed to get too heated on HBR debate. But it's just incredible to me.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's pretty daunting. So I allow it. You can curse a little bit.
You allow it?
I allow
curse
it.
a little bit. I'll try to control it a bit, because I know it's not good for the search engine optimization either. But it just is astounding, and the fact that only Tucker is pointing it out. And the other thing is that there was that New Zealand study that found that women never, throughout their entire lives, women never give more to society than they take. They always take significantly more from society than they give. And men are the only reasons why we can have a government and we can have the situation where women are always taking more than they give. And then they turn around and say men are the oppressors. Men are the ones who are putting women down. Really? Really? Okay, if you took men out of the picture tomorrow, women would starve to death. I mean, literally, ladies, you'd be dead. You'd be dead. You're going to call the people keeping you alive, carrying you through their taxes, you're going to call them your oppressors? And you're going to say that the government or the patriarchy or whatever is the system, and it's the system by which the resources are extracted from men and given to women. And you're going to call that system oppression of you? Seriously? Anyway, so it's just astounding. And this entire narrative of female oppression, not just now, throughout human history, this entire narrative is what puts a smoke screen over the truth. And the truth is black and white. Men produce, women consume. And if you're going to tell me that that means that men oppress women, when throughout all of human history, you can ask yourself, which is the group of people consuming? Which is the group of people producing? Is it usually the group of people consuming the product of the people that's producing? Are they usually the ones who are oppressed? The people who are getting the excess production from the people who are creating it? Is that usually the oppressed group? Like, get over this shit. Because if we don't get over this narrative, this smokescreen, this I don't know, this veil, this blindfold that's being pulled over our eyes, we will never solve this problem. And we're just going to run right off a cliff. Because at some point, and we can see it now, we can see the cracks forming. You can't keep beating men and expecting them to continue to be able to carry them. You can't break their knees and expect them to be able to stand up again with you on their shoulders while you're pounding on their knees with a fucking baseball bat and expect this is going to continue for any length of time. And let's just put aside the morality of it, because it's ugly. It's an ugly thing that women are doing to men and government is doing to men. Not only is it ugly, it's completely unsustainable. I mean, even if you're a woman listening to me saying, oh my God, how dare she? How dare she say that I'm doing something bad? Look at the fact, because you don't want to recognize men as human beings who don't deserve to be beaten with narratives like, oh, they oppress and hate women, who don't deserve that crap. You don't want to accept that. Well, accept this. This is haste. This is becoming faster. This problem is getting bigger. It's getting bigger to the point where it most likely will come down on your head in your lifetime. Care about that. All right.
Yep.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Sorry about the anger, guys.
It's all right. It's all right. Rant over. Save the rest for the after show because it's retarded. So we just got a telegram from Ancapistan. French Honey Badger gave us $5 and says, the state is a parasite and all incentives are built such that they'll dry up all resources until the host society is destroyed. So thank you for that. And thank you for your kindness. And I'm not making fun of you. Ancapistan is funny to me. Okay, moving on to the next hot take.
So what's driving it? Well, there are many factors. Falling male wages certainly play a role. Studies show that when men make less than women in their potential dating pool, women tend to consider them less attractive marriage partners. Fewer men marry, more children are born out of wedlock.
Okay, just thought that was worth mentioning, something that we already know, but I'm glad that Tucker is just saying it so plainly. Next hot take.
Some government policies also discourage marriage, particularly among the poor. Women on welfare who marry often see their food and housing subsidies cut dramatically. One recent report found that almost 1/3 of Americans know someone who hasn't married for fear of losing benefits.
Well, I know a few people that are like that.
Yeah. Short-term gain, long-term loss. I mean, I'm sorry, this is just a lot of this stuff has just really gotten so much more stark since the Count Dankula verdict and what happened with Lauren Southern. It just feels like this is a problem that's so huge that it's just daunting. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And the fact is that the total and complete inability for people to actually deal with this stuff honestly is just really disheartening. And I mean, I just came off of some people sent me some messages from Jordan Peterson's forum where people are questioning the fact that he said, oh, women have never been oppressed. No, they haven't. Women have never been oppressed. Just Women can be oppressed, just like men can be oppressed. But they have never been oppressed because they're women throughout history or in any society. This pernicious narrative is what allows us to continue to think that we do not have to address the problems that are going to slowly erode our society and destroy the standard of living that we've created, destroy the freedoms we've created, destroy what we have created. We don't have to deal with those problems because we got this whole mythology that can just mask them from us.
But Alison.
Women were still viewed as chattel.
Like only 100 or so years ago. Like less than 100 years ago, a few years ago.
Oh God. Oh, I've even talked to people who think that women were viewed as chattel in the 50s.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a popular narrative for and with women too. I don't know why they like this idea.
50 Shades of Chattel, I think is your answer. All right, let's do next.
Next hot take. We're going to be talking about Hillary Clinton, the ghost of elections past. Here we go.
2013, as she was preparing to run for president, Hillary Clinton shot a video tribute to single mothers. Quote, "Single moms are the real heroines," she said. "They need even more of the help that grandparents, aunts and uncles, and good friends can provide." The one group that Hillary didn't mention, biological fathers.
Oh, well, it's not surprising, is it? It's not surprising considering the constituency, and it's also not surprising considering the general attitude. It's so funny because not only are fathers so critical for the development of the children, so critical to get people out of poverty, so critical to create productive citizens, they're part of our evolutionary history. There's what made us human in a lot of ways was fatherhood and male contribution to children. And we, as a society, seem to be trying to destroy it. Oh, wait a second. I just realized. Of course, it might be because our Satan is named patriarchy, which is named after fatherhood.
He is also God.
Sorry?
He is God and Satan, the patriarchy.
Yeah. Well, Satan, whenever he's not abiding by the strictures of our holy word, feminism.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you deny this? We're in a society that seems to be in a war on fatherhood, and we name our sin after patriarch, after father. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Patriarch is father. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll walk away from that.
Okay. So, we got another donation from Ancapistan. That's $5, which is probably a really long decimal in bitcoins. And it says, from French Honey Badger, and he says, here's a donation for, quote, Hillary, the ghost of elections past. And then he has like a extreme laughy face. I guess it's a laughy face. I don't know. So, moving on to the next hot take. This Hillary Clinton thing is very interesting for what we're about to learn. You guys probably already know this, though.
Democrats who stray from this script tend to get attacked. Barack Obama spoke regularly and often eloquently about the importance of fatherhood. And yet, consistent with his party's orthodoxy, he said almost nothing about men marrying the mothers of their children. And that distinction is critical. Studies show that married fathers are by far most involved in their children's lives. You often hear our leaders refer to caring parents or grandparents or caregivers or some similar combination, as if the presence of any involved adult is enough for kids. But that's not true. At least for boys, the presence of a biological father in the house makes all the difference. I
would agree. The thing is that we need to focus on there's a unique aspect to the biology of this. And it's not to say that when somebody's in a situation where a father refuses to be a father, that, stepfather can't step in and help. Mm-hmm. But if there is a willing father, that relationship, that biological relationship between father and child should be given priority, should be paramount. And it isn't. It's just it's almost like a forbidden idea.
Well, the father role is actually seen as something that is easily substituted, as though fathers are just like no one would try to separate, or at least generally, people would not try to separate a mother from her child. They see that as a bond that is not only important, but absolutely sacrosanct. Like, you just can't mess with that. If you took a child away from her mother, even if the mother is abusive, okay, then you're... Oh, sorry, my phone went off. Even if you did that with an abusive mother, people would not have, they would have a problem with doing that, with separating a mom from her kids. But when it comes to fathers, we simply think that we can replace them with stepfathers, with uncles, with grandparents, with the schools, with daycare centers, with the government. All these things are supposedly good substitutes. Even older brothers. You know, I was in a position where for a while my father wasn't around, and my mother basically made me de facto father because I was the oldest of my brothers. And it was a job that I was not ready to do at my young age. So we don't see fathers as necessary. In fact, we think that they're completely just unnecessary, like completely extra.
Which is actually a very, very arrogant and stupid thing to assume. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at this, let's get into like primate studies and studies of altruism and reciprocal altruism and compassion and cooperation. The single largest causal factor. So when they look at all the potential factors or causal relationships between different features of primate society, and that included us. When they look at, for example, grooming between female primates, grooming between male primates, food provision between juveniles or adults and juveniles, and all of these other kinds of potential factors that might be causal with this kind of high level of altruism that we see in human societies, because we are actually uniquely altruistic. Human society is such a complex system of reciprocal altruism. It isn't seen anywhere in the wild kingdom. This is a very unique feature of human beings. This profound reliance on reciprocal altruism. And they've tried to find out what are the causal factors, what ties to our what creates our reciprocal altruism? Is it what could potentially create our reciprocal altruism? Because causality, correlation doesn't mean causality, but so right. They've looked at all of these factors, like grooming between males and females, grooming between males and males, grooming between females and females, and what they've found is the one thing that ties to our altruism, to high altruism within primate societies and our societies, is what they call alloparenting. And what they specifically mean is fathering. Now think about that. Let that settle into you for a second. Fathers create altruistic societies. Altruistic societies are societies that can cooperate. Altruistic societies are societies in which you can go out onto the street, walk down the street with your wallet and money in your wallet, and not expect to get your brains bashed out because somebody wants your resources. Fathers create altruistic societies, period. Fatherhood, involved fatherhood, creates altruism, period. The more our society decides to stigmatize and remove fathers from the equation and involved fatherhood from the equation, the more and more and more it destroys the systems of cooperation and reciprocal altruism that we need to survive. And this is something nobody is looking at in the mainstream except Tucker. We are watching the destruction of our society as we speak, as we talk about these issues. This is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. We are destroying the very foundations of what we rely on as a species, as a society, as an advanced civilization. The only person who's talking about it is Tucker in the mainstream media and us on our channel.
Yeah.
That's sad.
All right. Moving on to the next hot take. Let me just make sure we're in the right place. Yes. All right, here we go.
On at least one occasion, Obama suggested that he understood this. In a 2003 speech about gun violence he gave in Chicago, Obama noted that, quote, "we should do more to promote marriage." Almost immediately, he was attacked from the left. An article in Ebony magazine suggested that Obama's remarks were racist. MSNBC ran an op-ed attacking him, and so on. He went back to platitudes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate, but it's true. Like, there's such an incredible political pressure. I'm actually surprised that Tucker would say this, would actually commend Obama for something, but then also note that he was basically eaten alive by his political platform.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I do think that Tucker is, he's pretty moderate. Like, I don't want to make this about the politics per se, and I know that what we are looking at is a pundit on, or at least a political commentator on a conservative news site that is being sort of, mirrored by a conservative YouTube channel. But it's the only place we can find where somebody's actually tackling these issues. And personally, I don't care who does it. And I know we said this before, but there are still people who see, we're looking at a Fox News thing and we're praising what they're doing as some kind of, allegiance with the news channel itself. As far as I'm concerned, it's still the mainstream media. And I say take it one story at a time. If they get something right, give them credit. If they don't, then, let it be known. So this is just the person who happened to be doing it. I think that Tucker genuinely believes that this father thing is an issue and it should not be a political device, but it appears that that's what it is. The whole gender, marriage, fatherhood, how to raise your kids, etc. It's going into the realm of the political, where I don't think it should be, but here we are.
Oh, there's a reason why it's going into the realm of the political. Mm-hmm. We can get into that when we finish talking about all of the straight issues, like what he's bringing up, why he's bringing it up, and what he's trying to talk about. But I would like to address the political aspect of this. So.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to his special guest, which is Warren Farrell. So let's go with that.
Dr. Warren Farrell has looked into this subject quite closely. He's the author of the book, The Boy Crisis, and he joins us tonight. Dr. Farrell, thanks a lot for coming on. So we know pretty conclusively that men in America and in other developed countries are falling behind women in a lot of different measures. To what extent is fatherlessness driving that, do you think?
A great extent. They're falling behind women in all 63 leading nations, developed nations. And in developed nations, there's the permission for divorce that there isn't in non-developed, less developed nations. And also in developed nations, there's the permission for women to marry, to have children without being married. And that creates a huge division between boys and a division of boys who are with their fathers do quite well. Boys who are not with their fathers do terribly on more than 70 different measures of measures like postponed gratification, the ability to be, whether or not they're depressed, whether or not they're drinking, whether or not they have drugs, the opioid crisis, and even the people who are involved as ISIS recruits all over the world, they're almost completely fatherless boys, and the ones that are girls are also fatherless. And so everything you've been saying for this series has been right on target with the importance of having children be involved with both fathers.
Wow. The ISIS thing is, I'm so glad that he said that. I just want to throw that out there, but go ahead, Alison.
That is dynamite. Like I said, I'm not surprised. Fathers teach children shades of gray. They teach them understanding of complex systems. They teach them the skills to engage in these systems of reciprocal altruism, to figure out if somebody is not going to play fair with you, and to also play fair with others. They're so critical. Mm-hmm. And when you take them away, you create these vulnerable populations. And I am not surprised that it's fatherless children who are being preyed upon by terrorist organizations that are recruiting them and trying to use those vulnerabilities that being father deprived has created in them, use them to manipulate them. And then the sense of valuelessness that you get when you're father deprived, I would imagine. I had a father, a very involved father, so I'm conjecturing a bit on this, but I imagine that there's a sense of valuelessness or a sense of not being connected to the greater community. Again, makes it easier to prey on you, easier to fill your mind with black and white thinking, us versus them, and easier to make you think that your only value is this kind of is as an attack dog for tribalism. So and we are just inviting more and more of this into our society. So I mean, interesting though. I mean, if we actually focused on making sure all children had full access to their fathers, if we actually saw it in the same way that we see education and school meals, or even more important, or vitamins, we could potentially reduce terrorism. Wouldn't that be a thing?
It would. It'd be a hell of a thing. And it's also, it's interesting that he says they are falling behind in 63 developed nations, and that those nations all have allowed, they have, I think, what do you say, allowed women to divorce, and also that they don't have the option to marry the father of their kids. Now, that's for you guys out there that might be thinking, what does he mean by that? He is not saying that we should live in a society where women are forced to marry men that they have children with, or that they should not ever be able to get out of a marriage that they don't want to be in. But he is pointing out that there are some unforeseen side effects that happened as a result of that. And I guess it's like freedom without responsibility.
At the risk of, I don't care anymore. People can tell them to say whatever the hell they want about me. At some point, women have to assume adult responsibility. At some point, they have to say, you know what? If I'm going to have children, I can't beat them, I can't molest them, and I can't father deprive them. I can't neglect them, and I can't I have to respect the fact that they should have complete access to their father.
Yep.
It's at some point, we have to stop glad-handing women. Stop handling and stop indulging and start saying, no, you got to live up to a standard of responsibility. You have to have integrity. You have to realize that the buck stops with you, and stop looking to the world like it is going to solve your problems, rather than you have to live up to the responsibilities and the expectations of adulthood. And we can't, to be honest, I do not think we can within the context of our current moral scheme. We just can't.
Yep.
And there are some really, really profound reasons why we can't hold women to account in our current moral schema, or our current moral landscape. And I will get into them. Like this is not the time and the place, because too complex to explain. But ultimately, I don't see, like, we got to stop saying, and this is going to come up because they're going to start doing this. I know. In fact, maybe I should wait till we listen to the next hot take to point this out.
Okay.
But I have watched this, and they start to talk about these things, at least in one part, maybe you didn't play it, that women deserve, or they're just ladling out the compliments and the concern for women. Stop that!
Yeah, Farrell's about to do that.
Stop it!
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's
Yeah, no, you're right. That's the thing you shouldn't even have to say. And yes, Warren does lay out the compliments actually right here in this next clip, I believe.
Both fathers. Mothers are doing a huge amount of wonderful, hard work, loving
Yes.
and caring for their children. That's why they deserve the biological father to be involved. And when we tell the biological father, not only are you important.
What? Were you
I
saying
just
something?
want to stop that and respond to that. This is what needs to stop. We need to stop blowing smoke up women's asses. The truth is that mothers as a group are doing a terrible job. There are individual exceptions. But think about it. We have 70% of women who are willingly walking into a scenario in which they are going to be raising father-deprived children, and they are not taking responsibility for it. Okay, I'm gonna take this into the personal realm. I had a really rocky relationship with my mother. And when I say rocky, I'm probably understating it. It was a rough go of it. The two of us, we had a rough go of it. But she is better than 75 to 85% of mothers that I see around me. My mother, who I would say was, like, we had a rough relationship. She was difficult to live with. I would honestly say that she is better than at least 75% of mothers. You want to know why? She would have never left my father, and she would have never taken me away from him. Those two things made my mother better than 75% of the mothers out there, and that is the vast majority. So we need to stop saying to women, oh, you're doing a good job. You're not. You are absolutely not doing a good job. You are not held to a standard of accountability and responsibility for your children, for society, and for men, and it shows.
Yep.
Now, you may not want to hear what I'm saying. I'm not going to go the MGTOW route and say that women are absolutely incapable of being better than they are. I'm not going to go that route because I know that women are capable of being better than what they're doing now. But I'm not going to sit here and allow smoke to be blown up women's asses when it is not deserved. And it is not deserved.
Yep. Agreed. Never mind the fact that not only, do we have all this single motherhood issues which are creating all these problems with boys, but remember that women are far more likely to abuse their kids as well, which is another cause of future problems down the line with boys and girls. So.
And I know there's a lot of women who would be listening to this and just totally offended. Think about where the compliment is coming from. They're not complimenting you on the actions you've taken. They're not complimenting you on overcoming anything. They're complimenting you because you have a vagina. That's it. That's the source of the compliment. And it's as meaningful and as weighty as that. And like I said, I understand where Warren Farrell is coming from because he's trying to be fair. He's trying to be moderate. He's trying to be kind. And I appreciate that. But to be honest, women don't deserve it. Mm-hmm. As a group, they have failed. They are failing their children, they are failing men, and they are failing society. And it's because they are not being held to a standard of accountability or responsibility, at least equivalent to that of men. And it is right in, once again, anybody who's like, oh my God, what are you talking about? It's right in the word. The word man, be a man, man up. That means take responsibility for others. It's right in the gender identity for men. They are expected to take responsibility for others. What's in the gender identity of woman? Well, you have a vagina and a womb. Good. Great. Let's blow some smoke up your ass because of it. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
All right. Got a couple more super chats before we play the next clip. Pretty how town Prufok, that's just kind of wordy, I don't know, gives us £5 and says, too left wing to say anything here, but I do value much of the work of the HBR team. Well, thank you for that. And French Honey Badger gives us $20 and says, imagine finding a husband was like shopping for a car. The woman has cars coming to her, paying to have her drive them. She decides if the car can continue to pay her. Yes, it's men who are responsible for the relationship.
Okay. It's
Okay.
that's really I'm trying to get past the idea of having cars stalking me. Sorry. Okay, all right.
All right.
I don't mean I didn't mean that. I mean just like the actual physical several tons of metal like hiding out in your the back alley, like peeking around like anyway.
Let's continue. Okay.
That's silly.
This clip is almost over.
But the way that you father is important. The way that you enforce boundaries, the way that you encourage exploration, the way that you encourage kids to get up and try again, the way that you encourage adventure and risk-taking, the way that that we can play together and create bonds. These are the things that mothers need to communicate, because when fathers are asked for and valued, they come back into the picture. When they're not, they drop out.
Well, this is good. It's good to see acknowledgement of the unique ways that men contribute to raising children, and they do. They contribute a lot to raising children.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, like, when I contradict Warren Farrell, it's not because I don't respect him. It's just because I don't think that this is really what women need to hear right now.
Yeah, and also the because the problem, I think, or one of the big problems that we have is we keep telling women that they are capable of anything and they can never do any wrong and they are just superwoman like all the time. And so there is no, hey, a father brings something unique to the table that you cannot offer. That's not a thing. I remember when Terry Crews, I think it was Terry Crews, he, as an actor, you guys might know, very like muscular black guy. He was on one of those morning shows. It was either The View or The Talk. It doesn't really matter. They're both basically the same shit. And he was talking about Father's Day. And he was talking about the importance of fathers. And he was trying to get this across, but the women, not only on the panel, but also in the audience, were just insulted. Like, they couldn't believe that this could even be a case that could be made, that fathers were necessary for anything. And I was watching that, and I just couldn't understand why they would not want that to be important. Like, why would some woman want to be super all the time? Anyway, like, why wouldn't you want help? Like, it was just something I couldn't fathom. And I think it's because they just buy into this idea that they're so important. And they're being told that. And they do have smoke blown up their ass for existing. And so, you get this, like, I guess I don't need a father in my life because I can handle it because I'm a superwoman.
Ugh. I have a lot of respect for the women I work with at HoneyBadgerRadio, but they are women who are determined to live up to a standard of accountability and responsibility. They're determined to include men in their moral landscape, and I respect that a great deal. I have no respect for what you're describing, Brian. Mm-hmm. I don't even think these women respect themselves. I don't even understand. Like, when I read these kinds of fatuous praise for the existence of women, it's not even talking about women's, because women do have unique powers. They do have unique abilities. It's not even talking, it's just fatuous praise about the moral wonderfulness of women. I'm like, what exactly are you praising? What are you praising? Because you know nothing about me except that I have a vagina. That's it. That's what you're praising. No thanks.
Yeah, it's
I don't
empty.
want that. It's an empty platitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand the mentality behind lapping that up. It seems to be simultaneously a sense of superiority and abject inferiority. Like, why would you take such an empty compliment? Why would you base your beliefs about yourself on something so worthless as smoke, as glitter being pumped up your ass? Like, that's not something you've done. That's not something you've earned. And if you become addicted to that kind of fatuous praise, then you're controlled by other people's opinion of you. You constantly have to sniff out more sources of people praising you for having a vagina. It's pathetic. Anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. It seems that flattery can get you everywhere when it comes to women.
Well, at least some women, or most women.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, it's just gross. Like, really? Okay, anyway, so we only have a few minutes left.
We're on the last hot take. We're on the last hot take. There's just one left, and we're done.
All right.
All right, this is it.
So it doesn't sound like anybody wins from fatherlessness. So if, the trend is that fewer families are forming, more children are growing up without fathers at home, nobody benefits from that at all. Why aren't we sounding an alarm in this society about that, do you think?
I think we put so much focus, especially in the Democratic Party, on freedom for women. And freedom for women is a wonderful thing. I was in the board of directors of the National Organization for Women in New York City, as you know, for many years. But freedom for women stops when they make the free choice to have children. And then a different question has to emerge, which is what is best for the children. And what we see is evidence way beyond what I ever expected before I started doing the research for the boy crisis, is that children do best when there is not just a father, not just a male role model, but the biological father, and a biological father is far less likely to drop out of the process when there's marriage. 40% of even men and women who live together, who don't get married and have children, 40% of those fathers never see their children after 2 years.
There was something about that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to mention. And I know you want to get into the politics of this. Yesterday I was doing an after show, and it was about this woman who was talking about how, she loves being a slut, but she doesn't want to be judged for it or whatever. And it's a pointless, I'm not talking about the article itself, but at one point she makes that usually worn out statement about, when men have sex with lots of women, they are considered studs. And when women have sex with multiple men, they are considered sluts, blah, 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 right? Pointing out this double standard that supposedly exists. Someone in the comment section made a very interesting point that I've been thinking about a lot. And what he said was, women are the gatekeepers of sex, but men are the gatekeepers of commitment. Or at least that's what he was theorizing. And what he was getting at is the opposite of, or the male version of a slut is not someone who sleeps with multiple people, but rather someone who gives his companionship or his attention or his friendship too easily. So also known as a nice guy. So nice guys are the sluts for men. And when Warren was talking about this just now, he was saying that a man is more likely to remain a father of his children if he is married to the woman who has his kids. And I was thinking if what the commenter from yesterday was saying has merit to it, then that would make sense with this, which is basically another way of saying, if a man decides that he's going to, and he has to value he has to value what he brings to a relationship in order for this to take place. This is important. So if a man recognizes that him offering himself as a partner, either as a romantic partner or even just as a friend to other people, if he values that and he knows that that's worth something, then he'll be selective about who he wants to be close to. If he chooses to be close to a woman who he wants a relationship with, and she in turn wants his commitment, then they will be more likely to make that work. So I think that's what is being sort of what Warren Farrell is saying. So, and the data, I guess, bears it out, that if a man is married to a woman, he's more likely to stay a father to his kids. It actually is more beneficial than if he was the biological father and he was staying there. So, I don't know.
It may also be that, because you're saying he's more likely to stay, or is he less likely to be thrown out?
I don't know. Or because the divorce process is a lot more of a hassle than just like leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the real question. But let's, who could really want to promote fatherlessness. I mean, what entity or group or organization would be interested in stripping away our ability to cooperate with each other and engage in systems of reciprocal altruism with each other? I mean, what entity would be interested in being able to control our ability to cooperate with each other so that it becomes the sole source of any kind of social cohesion? I mean, could there possibly be any kind of group of people who might be interested in becoming the sole source of social cohesion for the human race? I don't know. I think I'm sounding like a conspiracy theorist.
That
now.
sounds. I mean, like something like an entity, perhaps bureaucratic in nature. That
maybe a telegram from Ancapistan can help us out here. What? Yeah, is there maybe an organization that might want to prevent us all from being able to deal with each other, so that we have to turn to it to mediate all of our dealings with each other? I don't know. Is it possible?
I don't know. I may have to meditate under a waterfall for a very long time before, and then hope an answer comes to me from the universe.
Yeah. Or, like I said, a telegram from Ancapistan. Do you want to talk about the politics, or shall we?
Yeah, we can get into the. I just got one super chat, and then you can bring up the politics if you want. I think we're starting. I feel like we may be heading in that direction. Field of Bears gives us $5 and says, "Get the helicopters ready." Okay, go ahead.
Well, let's do it with the conjecture that, I don't know. Did Tucker make some conjecture about the political landscape and why there might be groups of people who would be interested in promoting fatherlessness? I think from what I can
the welfare state is basically they are the sole beneficiaries, right? We did get a telegram from Ancapistan. French Honey Badger gives us $5 and says, the more social cohesion, the less state people want. The less social cohesion, the more power the state will get.
Oh, I think he's cracked the code. Okay. I think we want to go to 3.10. This is an extra. This is a political extra.
3 point. Yes, this is the one. I almost made that a hot take, but I decided not to. All right, here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
And what is remarkable is how rarely that is acknowledged in public. When was the last time you heard a Democratic office holder decry the out-of-wedlock birth rate? If you cared about reducing poverty, you would talk about it a lot. But they don't. Why is that? Well, exit polling answers that question. Unmarried mothers are a critical part of the Democratic coalition. In 2008, Barack Obama won 74% of single mothers who voted. In 2012, he won 75%. Alienating these voters in any way is politically risky for Democrats, and so they ignore the problem entirely.
There you go.
There you go. There seems to be a group of people who might be incentivized to promote female reliance on the state, because then they can then turn around and rely on those voters to give them political power. And I wonder if maybe this was part of the reason why people were apprehensive about giving women the vote.
I wonder.
Yeah. Oh my God. This
really activates the almonds.
This is really dangerous territory that we're treading.
It percolates the pistachios.
Percolates pistachios. Congests the cashews.
It kind of explains why Hillary Clinton was kissing the asses of single mothers everywhere, calling them superheroes. I wonder if blowing smoke up the asses of single moms who also happen to be massive beneficiaries from the welfare state might have anything to do with it. On top of the fact that women in general make up the majority of the voting base. They also tend to vote with a group mentality. So, like, even if they are themselves the exception, they would think in terms of what's best for all women, and they're dependent on it, and they're susceptible to the narrative. So they're very, very useful to people who want bigger governments.
Yep, and married women tend to vote not necessarily for bigger government or Democrat. Mm-hmm. So This is like this. These are intractable problems that people have not looked at. We've always seems to seek out the simple solution, the solution that is politically expedient, and nobody is okay. Everybody's okay with nobody thinks it's stigmatized or it's not controversial. It's not controversial to give women more stuff. That's not controversial. Yet we live in a society that gives men stuff for free, allegedly. So, but these are the things we need to talk about. I'm not saying that it's completely unsolvable, this issue, that when you give women political power, they start to want to marry the state instead of men. I'm not saying it's impossible to solve this problem, but it is impossible to solve it if you refuse to look at it and say, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
If you refuse to actually steer the boat into the eye of the storm and say, we got to face this head on, and we got to face it honestly. And that is the question. When we gave women the vote, we did not create equality. We created a profound inequality that's only been exacerbated generation and generation after that. There is no way you can argue that giving the women the vote created equality when women were not subject to the draft and other responsibilities of citizenship. That was not equality. That was inequality.
Absolutely.
And then we've compounded that inequality after subsequent. So these are the questions that need to be asked, no matter how uncomfortable. And like I said, it doesn't mean that these are problems that can't be solved, but they certainly aren't going to be solved if we will not look at them. I'm good.
Well, I, for one, welcome our Starship Troopers future with open arms.
Would you like to know more?
So I'm hoping that that's the direction we go in. So I have some super chats. Service guarantees citizenship, Allison. I have some super chats here. Blave Kaiser gives us $5 and says, FYI, don't remember if you guys talked about this, but Hillary did blame married women for her loss. Yes, I read about that in the book, because I have her book, What Happened, and she does blame married women for it. And not only her, but lots of other progressives too. I think the Young Turks did that. AJ Plus are doing it now. You know, they're still complaining about it. So, yeah. French Honey Badger gives us another $5 and says, getting the vote for women was an explicit move by progressives to increase the power of the state during the progressive era. Thank you for that from Nkapistan. And then Cyberberserk gives us 50 sex and says women can do everything a man can do. So why aren't they doing it? And then Hoki Bukisa gives us $10 and says, I think it will take a metaphorical gun to their heads to change behavior. I don't think anything will change via reason and logic.
Well, then we're headed for civil war. Women will never have guns to their heads to make them do anything. This doesn't happen unless you're talking about a situation between two tribes.
Yep.
So it's either reason or logic or alternatively the hard, cold eye of evolution will be turned upon women. And they'll have no choice. Because the thing is that, gynocentrisms compete. Different forms of gynocentrisms compete against each other. It's entirely possible that there might emerge a form of gynocentrism that recognizes women's responsibilities to men, and it is so greatly more competitive than the other forms of gynocentrism that it just ends up conquering everything else. That's a thought. I'm describing something.
Yep.
I think people who know me know exactly what I'm describing. Okay.
Okay, so I guess we're done. We went through the whole video, and it's only been a little bit over an hour. So let's go into the after show. Do you want to shill it real quick?
For the people and Senate of Rome. Okay. Yeah, sure. In the after show, we're going to be discussing this wonderful piece of art by an individual whose name escapes me at the moment, but I'm going to find it. It's
cancer. It's retarded cancer. It's cancer with an extra chromosome.
It's beautiful sentiments from Jenny Mustard. If women ruled the world. Hashtag me too. Beautiful sentiments. And we're going to go through them and just be in awe of the beautiful things she has to say about the world and how she thinks women would make it better if they ruled it.
Can't wait.
Because apparently if women ruled the world, it would be all about women, because that's basically all she talks about.
Yeah.
It isn't right now because there are men in it, but if women ruled the world, there would be no men to be spoken of at all. And that would make it better. Okay, anyway, if you want to join us talking about Jenny Mustard's hashtag me too if women ruled the world, www.patreon.com/HoneyBadgerRadio. $5 gets you access to Discord and all of our extra content. It's a good deal.
It is.
Because you want to come and listen to us talk.
It's a lot of content.
You want to come and listen to us talk about Jenny Mustard's beautiful vision for the world, the future of the world. I mean, it's just not even any specific things. Not any particular decisions about economic or political, geopolitical. Just get more vaginas.
Just get vaginas in there. She solved vaginas. She solved the problem on like a level beyond olive oil from Popeye did, like back in the fucking 40s or whatever.
Just throw more vaginas into throw more into the government. Just keep throwing them. Just get a big barrel of vaginas and just dump it on the UN, and that'll fix everything.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into that. Please, guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button. Just hit the like button.
Do it! Just do it!
Because it really helps us out with our analytics. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider becoming a subscriber to our channel. And also hit the notifications bar so that you are told when new videos go up, because I understand that for many people, subscribing is just not telling them when the shit goes live. So
apparently also hitting the bell doesn't do it either. So
yeah, it could be shit either way, but just do what you can. Just do what you can. So and yeah, that's
all we got for you. Do what
you can. Oh, I got another super chat. I'm gonna go ahead and read it real quick. Field of Bears. If women rule the world, everyone would know that Tina is a skanky bitch. Who's Tina?
A skanky bitch, obviously.
Oh yeah, apparently. But don't we already know it now that you've said it? And a woman doesn't rule the world, or do they?
Oh, all maybe they do.
Well, in a way, I mean, there is what do they call it? There is behind every great man. I don't know. Whatever. We're gonna go to the after show.
Hey! I just had a thought.
What?
Maybe we could just sort of fake women ruling the world by just getting like latex vaginas and just having men wear them around their neck.
Oh yeah, we should just get all of the people who currently rule the world to identify as female.
Or just like give them a latex vagina to wear around their neck. There's problem solved, right? And then and just call them female. They're women now. The Church of Woman, of the Holy Sepulchre Woman.
I know
tabernacle made from woman. So go ahead.
I've seen some older guys that don't even need it because their neck already looks like a vagina.
Oh,
well, anyway, okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to the after show. Thanks for coming on the show today. Please leave us your comments below. Also, just for the guys that are watching, if you, anybody who's watching, where is your father in your life, and what difference do you think he made for you? And if you don't have a father, tell us about that. How did you, what was your life like, if you could? I'd like to read your comments and know your story when it comes to whether or not your father was present and what kind of upbringing you had as a result. All right, and we'll see you guys next